You saw him wave the Soviet flag, sing the anthem, and battle Hulk Hogan. But what do you really know about Nikolai Volkoff? Behind the villain was a man who risked everything for freedom, a man who became a victim of too many troubles and controversies. Let's explore them in detail. Nikolai Volkoff wasn't born Nikolai Volkoff. He came into the world as Josip Hrvoje on October 14, 1947 in Yugoslavia. Growing up in a communist country wasn't easy, and Josip witnessed firsthand the harsh realities of life under a really oppressive government. He dreamed of freedom and a better life, and boy did he get it. As a young man, he was super athletic and determined, finding his way into weightlifting. That discipline, along with his huge 6'4" frame, gave him the tools to shine in the physical department. But his dreams extended far beyond Yugoslavia's borders. In his early 20s, Josip made the bold decision to escape communist rule. Risking his life, he fled Yugoslavia, seeking freedom in the West. Little by little, he made his way to Canada, where his life changed forever. He trained under Stu Hart in the infamous Hart Dungeon, one of wrestling's toughest training grounds. It was here that Josip learned the skills that would launch his career. When Josip entered the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, he clearly adopted the character of Nikolai Volkoff, a character that really defined his career. In the 1970s and 80s, tensions between the US and the Soviet Union were at their peak. And boom, you have the perfect recipe to capitalize on these tensions. This is how Volkoff became the perfect villain. He was larger than life, his red outfits, that crazy Soviet flag that he would wave like a beast, and the Soviet anthems before the anthem. All these worked like magic. He'd enter the ring and fans would boo him. Deep down, they loved to hate him, and clearly that kept this character relevant for a long, long time. But do you really think his career was plain and perfect? Absolutely not. This man had so many controversies that it is impossible to cover all of them today, so here's a few. Volkoff burst onto the wrestling scene in the 1970s, a time of intense political tension between the US and the Soviet Union. His character, which, as I mentioned already, was of staunch communist who hated America, was perfectly thought to draw heat from the patriotic crowds. Now, while this was all part of the show, it did generate some serious controversy, but for some people, it wasn't just a fun wrestling show. People who had escaped from the Soviet Union found Volkoff's character offensive. It reminded them of the difficult and scary lives they had left behind. They felt like the wrestling company was making fun of their pain. This made Volkoff one of the most hated wrestlers in history, and it made people talk about whether it's okay to use serious issues for entertainment. Volkoff's manager, Classy Freddie Blassie, was an expert at making audiences dislike wrestlers. He helped Volkoff create even more drama, and their matches against all-American heroes like Hulk Hogan felt like real battles between countries. The crowds went wild, either cheering for the American heroes or booing Volkoff. Some people criticized the wrestling company for using real-world fears to make money. They thought it was wrong to turn such a serious situation into entertainment. Others thought it was okay because it was just a reflection of what was happening in the world anyway. But the controversies didn't stop there. Like many wrestlers from his era, he admitted to using steroids during his career. Back then, a lot of wrestlers used steroids to get bigger and stronger, but they didn't know how much it would hurt them later in life. Sadly, this was the case for Volkoff. In his later years, he suffered from heart problems that were likely caused by both the steroids and the physical strain of being a wrestler for so many years. On top of his health issues, Volkoff also faced money problems. Even though he was a famous wrestler and entertained millions of people, he didn't have enough money saved up for when he retired. This meant he had to work regular jobs like driving a truck just to make ends meet. Sadly, this is something that happens to a lot of retired wrestlers. They spend their whole lives performing, but sometimes they don't have enough money to live comfortably when their careers are over. When Volkoff passed away in 2018 at the age of 70, it made people think about the challenges wrestlers face. It was a sad reminder that sometimes even the biggest stars can struggle when the lights go down and the crowd stop cheering. So what do you think? Was Volkoff's character a brilliant reflection of Cold War drama, or did it cross a line? Whatever your answer might be, the next part of this video is for the real fans. The fans who are truly interested in watching a quick rundown of his career. Let's get into it. Before he was striking fear into the hearts of Americans, he was Josip Peruzovic, a young Croatian athlete with a dream. He learned the ropes in the harsh Canadian wrestling scene of the late 60s, training with the legendary Stu Hart. He paid his dues, wrestling under his real name and then as Bepo Mongol, a generic foreign heel. He even had a cup of coffee in the WWF in 1970, but he hadn't quite found his footing yet. But then in the mid-70s, lightning struck. He transformed into Nikolai Volkoff, the evil Russian, and he embraced that role with gusto. His signature move wasn't a suplex or a clothesline, but a chilling rendition of the Soviet national anthem. He'd stand in the ring, stern and imposing, demanding absolute silence before belting out those powerful notes. The fans would erupt in a chorus of boos, and Volkoff would soak it all in. He was a master of generating heat, a true puppet master of the audience's emotions. But Volkoff wasn't just a one-trick pony. He was a skilled wrestler who traveled the world, battling in Japan and teaming up with legends like Ivan Koloff in the NWA and Mid-South Wrestling. He and Koloff captured tag team gold in multiple territories, proving his ability to work with others and adapt to different styles. But his greatest success was still on the horizon. WrestleMania The Mern 1985, the biggest wrestling event of all time. Volkoff, alongside the equally despised Iron Sheik, faced the all-American heroes, the U.S. Express. The tension was palpable, the crowd was electric, and in a shocking upset, Volkoff and Sheik captured the WWF Tag Team Championship. This victory cemented Volkoff's place in wrestling history and launched him into the zone of superstardom. Volkoff became the ultimate foil for the WWF's top patriotic babyfaces. He battled Hulk Hogan in arenas across the country, his Soviet strength a constant threat to Hulkamania. But then big changes happened in the world. The Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union broke apart. Just like the world was changing, so was Nikolai Volkoff. He decided to become a good guy. He even became an American citizen on live television, which was a really big deal back then. Even though he was older, Volkoff kept wrestling for many years. He helped younger wrestlers become famous by letting them defeat him in matches. Everyone liked him backstage because he was kind and a true professional. He was so respected that he was even put into the WWE Hall of Fame, a place that honors the greatest wrestlers of all time. When he wasn't wrestling, Volkoff had a regular life like many people. He had a normal job and was involved in his community. He proved that even though he played a bad guy on TV, he was a good person in real life. He was a good family man and loved by all those who knew him. Nikolai Volkoff's story reminds us that people can change and be successful in different ways. He was a great wrestler and a good person, and his story is remembered by many wrestling fans today. Sadly, in 2018, Nikolai Volkoff passed away at the age of 70, but his legacy lives on. He was a true icon of professional wrestling, a master of his craft who entertained millions with his villainous persona and surprising transformation. He reminded us that even in the world of sports entertainment, real-life events can shape the stories we tell and the characters we create. Nikolai Volkoff, the evil Russian who sang his way into our hearts, will forever be remembered as one of the greats. So there you have it, guys, the incredible story of Nikolai Volkoff, from Cold War villain to American hero. He was a true legend in the world of professional wrestling, and we're proud to have shared his journey with you today. What are your favorite Nikolai Volkoff memories? Did you ever get to see him wrestle live? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more awesome wrestling content. Special thanks to all the amazing fans who keep the spirit of wrestling alive. And to Nikolai Volkoff, wherever you are, thank you for the memories. You will never be forgotten. Until next time, wrestling fans, keep the passion alive and stay tuned for more exciting videos.